Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and the Lorraine 40t has returned to the game. It used to be a standard tier 9 auto-loading medium tank, and now it is going to be the first tier 8 auto-loading premium tank in World of Tanks. This vehicle will have the highest penetration of any tier 8 medium vehicle in the game, and it is also going to be the fastest, limited at 60 kilometers an hour. This video will get you up to date with everything that you need to know about the first auto-loading tier 8 premium vehicle in the game, what my opinion of it is, how it stacks up compared to its competition, and then I'll follow it up with some ace tanker gameplay. And if you have no interest in picking one up, what to watch out for when they hit the battlefield very soon indeed, and how to deal with them effectively. So before we dive into the statistics and the comparison of this vehicle, the newer players of you out there might not know that this vehicle has been in the game before, and for an exceedingly long time. At the start, the Lorraine 40t was a tier 8 French standard medium tank, which led on to the Bat Chatillon, which years ago, before the tier 10 medium tanks were in the game, was a tier 9 medium. However, then when the Bat Chatillon was moved up to tier 10, it was the obvious move to move the Lorraine up to tier 9 as well, and it gained substantial statistical buffs to allow it to compete at tier 9. However, more recently in patch 9.15.1, it was replaced by the Bat Chatillon 25t AP, and has effectively been missing the game for the last 10 months, but here it is back at its original tier 8, with the full premium status, which of course comes with the extra crew training and all the credits. But just because it's the new kid on the block doesn't mean that we should forget about the AMX CDC, the original tier 8 French premium medium tank, and the recently mega buffed M4A1 Revolution. And I'm also adding into this comparison the AMX 5100, which is the tier 8 French heavy tank, because as we're going to see, the gun on the Lorraine 40t is very similar. So immediately we notice that if you are looking for raw DPM output, then the Lorraine 40t is certainly not going to be the vehicle for you. In fact, the Lorraine T has the worst DPM of any of the tier 8 medium tanks, apart from the T-34-2 and the T-44, when they're using those gigantic 122mm Soviet armaments. And so this means if you're looking to do continuous damage to your opponents, then this vehicle won't be for you. But as I mentioned, this is going to be the first premium auto-loading tier 8 tank, with a 100mm main armament that does 300 alpha damage per shot, with 4 rounds in each magazine and 2.5 seconds delay between each of those shots. And so this means if you were hoping that the Lorraine 40t had that gigantic magazine that it previously had, 6 rounds, 300 alpha damage, that's 1,800 damage per magazine, that's not the case. You're going to have to play the 5100 or jump up to the tier 9 Bat Chatillon 25t AP to enjoy that. However, this still means with 4 rounds and 300 alpha damage, the Lorraine 40t is capable of doing 1,200 damage within 7.5 seconds of the first shot. And this is one of my favorite things about the tank, that unload speed is just a little bit faster than the 5100. And everybody knows that when you're trying to avoid taking damage with your autoloaders, every second counts. Now, of course, having this smaller magazine does have its disadvantages. Unlike the 5100, you can't just rush into a tier 8 heavy tank and be able to kill the entirety of the vehicle pretty much on average with 5 shots and even have 1 left over in case you low roll or if you want to kill another tank. But on the other hand, it allows the Lorraine 40t to reload in 36 seconds, which is 14 seconds better than the AMX 5100, which makes reloading feel like less of a commitment and also less punishing when you only maybe need to fire 2 or 3 shots and you want to get ready again to engage the next target. Now moving on to one of the best things about the Lorraine 40t, and that is that it retains the 5100's penetration on its standard rounds. 232mm gives it the best penetration of any tier 8 medium tank in the game, better than the 226mm of penetration on the Centurion and the FV4-202's 20-pounder guns. And this is absolutely awesome because you barely have to fire any premium ammunition in this vehicle, but if you are so inclined, you can dab that Tukey and have 263mm of APCR penetration and 1,250 meters a second shell velocity. But from my personal experiences, the armor-piercing rounds are more than sufficient, which certainly allowed me to maximize my profit when I was playing the Lorraine 40t. Now onto the gun handling of this vehicle, and it's certainly not great news for the tank. At least compared to the CDC and the Revolution, 2.7 seconds does feel like quite a long time. but it certainly is better than the 5100's 3 seconds aim time. And you know what, that's not too bad for an autoloader. And as soon as you get vertical stabilizers on the tank and a gun laying drive, if you choose to use one, but the gun laying drive is not always the best choice, then things certainly could be worse. Now on to the accuracy. It's not great. 0.38 is worse than the CDC and the Revolurise and also the 5100, and it does feel rather annoying to be whiffing your shots at mid to long ranges. And when, as I mentioned, you have the lowest DPM of any tier 8 medium tank, apart from those Soviet and Chinese 122mm main armament vehicles, it just feels so annoying to waste your shots, as you slowly feel either the game becoming a loss, or maybe you're just impacting the profit that you want to make. Dispersion wise, however, the Lorraine isn't too bad. It gets the same dispersion when moving as the CDC and better turret traverse dispersion than the 5100, the CDC and the Revolurise, which means when you're stationary and you're sniping, then the aim time doesn't feel too bad at all, and you can be fully accurate between your 2.5 second intra-clip reload. Moving on to one of my favorite aspects of this tank is that it has a little bit of advantage with regards to its elevation and depression over the 5100. And you'll be happy to know that the Lorraine 40t has 8 degrees of gun depression. And this is pretty much all around the vehicle apart from over the back here, where you're going to have 4.5 degrees, which makes this vehicle feel way more comfortable than the 5100, way more comfortable than the tier 9 and the tier 10 bat chats as well. And it certainly was for me one of the most pleasant surprises of the tank. Now on to the mobility, and this is where the Lorraine 40t shines. It is the fastest tier 8 medium tank in the game, able to bomb it around at 60 kilometers an hour. That's only matched by the T-44-85M, which I believe is only out on the Russian server if at all. And furthermore, the vehicle's power to weight ratio is also rather healthy, only behind the awesome power to weight ratio of the AMX CDC and again that mysterious T-44-85M. But how about the ground resistances? Well, they're really good. They're way better than the CDC, better than the 5100, better than the Revolurise on all terrains, which amplifies this power to weight advantage that this vehicle has over the vast majority of tier 8 tanks, apart from of course that CDC. So far we found out that the first tier 8 auto-loading vehicle in the game, while it does have the worst DPM, has the best penetration, decent gun handling for an autoloader, and it's probably one of, if not the most mobile tier 8 vehicles. But how about its armor? And this is where the tank completely falls away. It has 40mm of frontal hull armor, 45 on the turret, 30 at the side and 25 at the rear. This thing gets penetrated pretty much every time that the vehicle is hit. And one of the most annoying things about the tank, as we can see here, it is going to get overmatched by all 91mm caliber guns and larger on the side. And really, apart from some miracle ricochets where people shoot your outside plate when you're angled, this vehicle gets penetrated by everything. Even the tier 6 tanks on the enemy team are going to be able to whittle down your hit points. And that can be incredibly frustrating when you do have that rather long reload of 36 seconds. If you get rushed by a tier 6 tank, for example, there's nothing that you can do about it. And furthermore, the Lorraine 40t's profile is very large. This vehicle has a big old butt sticking out the back, and when you're trying to run away from your opponents to give yourself time to be able to reload, this tank is a very juicy shot in the side, as we can see here. And so that means you should try and do everything that you can to avoid getting hit in the Lorraine 40t, because it's only really those 1,300 hit points that are keeping you from going back to your garage. And conversely, that means that the Lorraine 40t is probably going to be one of the most attractive targets for an artillery to shoot at, or anyone just wanting to maximize their damage with high explosive rounds, or overmatching the side of the armor with all 91mm caliber guns. So finally, this vehicle gets a decent view range of 380 meters. I personally use coated optics on this tank, which enables you to either be spotting for yourself or your team with great effect. So a lot of you will be watching this video thinking if the Lorraine 40t is going to be a great crew trainer, and you'll immediately notice that there are only 3 crew members in this tank. You have a commander, a gunner, and a driver. And so if, for example, you've got an AMX-30 prototype like me, then you're quickly going to find that the lack of the dedicated loader in this vehicle means that you're going to be missing safe stowage in addition to situational awareness, which can be rather frustrating. However, those of you that love the Bat Chatillon at tier 10 will rejoice, because the crew works absolutely perfectly in the Lorraine, which means that you're not going to be missing out on situational awareness on your commander, your gunner can be taking safe stowage, and your driver has more than enough room to try and enhance those already incredible mobility characteristics further. But you know what? I think that's quite enough theory crafting. Let's get stuck into some gameplay. So here we go, we're getting stuck into Muravanka. We're in a nice matchup. I hasten to add that this vehicle does not have preferential matchmaking, and so you are going to have to meet tier 10 tanks. But you know what? I don't think it even really matters for this vehicle. Because, of course, you don't have any armor anyway, so it doesn't matter if you're getting shot by a tier 6 tank or a tier 10 tank. Well, of course, their DPM and their alpha might be a little bit higher. But when your armor is this bad, you don't really care what is shooting at you. It's more important to avoid the shot in the first place. Now we're going to use our great mobility to be able to get into the front, and we're not quite ready to shoot that M6. A little bit frustrating there, but I'm going to try and use this tree and these bushes to hopefully be able to spot out a little more. But as I see the M6 come around the corner, I pull back expecting to be spotted, and there you go, the M6 does spot me when I pull back behind the tree. So right now I'm thinking, let's go and take advantage of this tier 6 heavy. Oh, this is just where tasty snacks happen for the Lorraine, right? We come around the corner and we immediately find that I buck my tank up a little bit up that ridgeline, which means that we don't have the... Even though we do have 8 degrees of gun depression, it wasn't quite enough to be able to engage that M6 effectively. Now we're going to push forwards. That T-44 has 1,300 hit points, and I've got 4 100mm shells. Oh gosh, we get hit by an ISU 152 from the back who's using the 120mm. But look at this. This is what this tank is all about. And we managed to put 4 into him for 1,234 damage. We evade the T-44 second shell, but that ISU 152 using that 122mm did manage to hit us twice. We lost a lot of our hit points, but the thing is when you're unloading in this vehicle and you feel like you've got some friends around you who maybe the ISU would want to shoot, is it right to stop engaging the tank and firing off those 4 shells within the first 7.5 seconds of the first shot? Or should you pull back behind the ridge? And I feel like in that kind of a position, if you know you've taken a shot from the T-44 anyway, and you're likely to be able to put the remaining shots into the tank, you should probably take it. Now we've reloaded, we're back in it. Will we kill the ISU with the first shot? Not quite. What about the second one? There you go, he's not hitting us a third time. And a good thing too, if that guy was able to hit us a third time, we would certainly not be very well. And you kind of have to just pinch yourself a little bit here in these kind of moments. You have to realize that you are playing a premium vehicle. And for a lot of tanks, a lot of premium tanks, this would have already been a great game, right? In the first 2.5 minutes, we've dealt 1,855 damage. And this will be very nice profit, I can tell you. These 100mm rounds are actually rather cheap indeed. Let me see exactly how much they cost. Well, 1,000 a shot, it looks like, on the standard ammunition. That's still not too bad. We fired, probably about 7-8 shots possibly this game, so we spent 7,000-8,000 credits on ammunition. Well, you guys are just going to have to wait for the post-game stats to be able to see what kind of a profit we're going to make from this replay. So right now I'm trying to hug the ridgeline here, advance along. We've got to try and get towards the cap circle to be able to stop them from capping here, seeing if I can pick up a shot on the third nam. And there's 2 tanks I'm pretty worried about right now. The IS-2 has not been spotted, and there's also a tier 6 light tank on the enemy team that we're going to have to watch out for. But here we go, this is where you want to be in your Lorraine 40t. 1 into the third nan, please panic and go backwards. Doesn't look like he's going to panic and go backwards. Have a quick look up on the ridge too. I'm still expecting the T-37 to be around here somewhere, but luckily he's not. Will we be able to get another one into the third nan? Not quite. And I don't really want to waste these 3 shells, or am I going to try? No, I decide, I fire 1. Not sure if that went in, we'll have to see in a second. And there's the T-37. There's the fellow that I was worrying about. When you're down to 270 hit points, you certainly have to watch out. We miss our first. Will we hit our second? Oh, that's better. A nice snipe in there, and now we're reloading. Of course, I would have loved to have hit that guy the first time to be able to put him within a 1-shot for our next hit. But the accuracy on this tank, as I mentioned, I think it's 0.38. Yes, it is 0.38. That's certainly not very good at all, and that makes this tank a rather poor sniper at mid to long ranges. And really, you want to be at the kind of distance that we were from that T-44 earlier on. Now we're just waiting, reloading, trying to get our magazine ready again so we can finish off the enemy tanks. And you'll notice that I am actually firing an APCR around here. So we'll have to see how that impacts our profit at the end of the game. I decided that with only 20 seconds left on the game, it's really make or break kind of moments here, and I needed to be able to penetrate that third nan in the front. Sure, 232mm of penetration would have probably been enough, but the 260 you get on these APCR rounds will allow you to just confirm it. There we go, take the Lorraine out, and it looks like the Lurver on our team has managed to make his way into the cap circle. I have a quick look at that T-37, not sure if I want to shoot him right now. I'm more worried about interrupting the cap and also helping out our team. This is still a rather dangerous game with 3 enemy tanks inside the cap circle and the IS sitting there. 1 into the back of his turret, 2 into the back of the tank. There we go, great result. Now you see me loading standard armor-piercing rounds again now that the threat is over. Now, of course, in this kind of a situation, everything could go wrong for this vehicle. Can you imagine if the Leo had come over the ridge? Can you imagine if the IS-2 had come over the ridge? Any of those tanks. This is where this vehicle is so vulnerable. And what you really have to do is to have a feel for when you're going to be safe, or try and get yourself into a position where you will be safe. And I'm just terrified that Leo will come over the ridge. If he's using the 105mm, he's going to be able to kill us in a single shot. But I have been listening to his shots, and it sounds like he's using the 75mm gun. And so that means he has to hit me 2 times, and so I feel fairly confident to go in, put one in, and finish him off with a little bit of momentum. Swing my tank around on 5 kills now, and try and find that pesky T-37 that we hit earlier. Now, 2 shots. T-37, I believe, was on just over 300 hit points. I'm probably going to have to hit him twice to be able to take him out here. I think he's going towards the corner. He's actually not. He's on my left. A bit of tunnel vision there. I was reading one of the nice things that Panther M10 said. Can you believe that one misses? We have to high roll now to finish him off. Whoa, well, I decide to commit to be able to secure the kill, pick up the top gun, and let's be honest, that fellow would have killed me anyway if I hadn't rammed him, right? He would have caught me reloading because of the terrible RNG with the first shot. He would have finished me off, and so I guess we're just going to have some mutually assured destruction at the end of this round. So this replay pretty much had it all for the Lorraine. You got to see just how weak the armor is, how big the profile is, how that ISU 152 was able to just pick me apart using that 122mm gun. I guess he doesn't quite have the big BL-10 yet. And with a rather large cupola on top of the tank and a fairly big forehead above the gun, the T-44 was also able to put a round into us. And even little baby tanks like this T-37 with a very little 76mm gun, I believe, on that tank are easily able to pepper the front of this vehicle. Meaning that if you do have a little bit of bad luck and miss one of your shells, which is very easy to do with the poor dispersion values when you're driving, combined with that .38 accuracy, will leave you oh so vulnerable during your long reload. But if things do go right, you predict the situation and you get yourself there before you need to be, this tank is absolutely devastating, and it is probably the most dangerous Tier 8 premium vehicle, capable of dishing out 1,200 damage with great reliability due to its penetration within 7.5 seconds. So this was our ace tanker for the Lorraine 40t, 2009 experience points. I guess that's including some kind of bonus for being a premium vehicle. Yes, it is 1,217 base experience points. I don't think that amount will be an ace tanker for very long in this vehicle when it's released to the public. A top gun for our 6 kills and 113,000 credits. How much did we spend on ammunition? 32,000 including that premium magazine just to be able to secure the game. We still get 72,000 credits profit for a damage total just shy of 3,900. And this kind of profit was not an unusual thing. I barely had to fire APCR rounds in this tank. Here are all of the profits for I guess the 15 games or so that I played in the vehicle. Our lowest was 20,000 credits profit for this defeat, and the vast majority were between 70 up to 90,000 profit, which is an average profit of 65,000 credits, netting us nearly $1 million profit playing 15 games. And so all in all, I had a really good time playing the Lorraine 40t. It's fast, it makes tons of credits, and it's the first auto-loading Tier 8 premium vehicle ever in World of Tanks. And personally, while I don't think that it's crazy overpowered because of the limitations to the armor and also the DPM of the tank, I think this vehicle is going to do very well in the hands of a capable player, but mostly be an XP pinata for the enemy team in the hands of an incapable player. Because as this vehicle is the first Tier 8 premium autoloader, it opens up this vehicle to a very complicated playstyle that requires so much awareness and predicting if you're going to be able to penetrate your shots and where your opponents are going to do, or should I say, what they're going to do and where they're going to go. And if you fail to do any one of these things correctly, this tank is going to be immensely punishing. And so now comes the part where I let you know if I think this tank is worth it. Well, Wargaming have said that this is going to be one of the most expensive premium medium tanks yet. It's going to cost 10,700 gold, making this tank cost 1,000 more than the Patriot, just a little bit less than the Defender, but way more expensive than the Revolurise, which cost 7,200 gold, and the AMX CDC, which cost 7,450 gold. And so that pretty much makes this tank cost 50% more than the other Tier 8 French premium tanks. And I guess the reason for this is that it is the first premium auto-loading vehicle in World of Tanks. And so I guess to have that privilege, Wargaming want you to pay, should we say, the full tier 8 premium heavy price tag. And so right now, if I was looking to buy a tier 8 French premium medium tank, is the 50% extra worth it for the Lorraine? Well, to be honest, for me, it would be worth it. And I stress for me. And the reason for that is autoloaders have a high skill cap and they allow you to deal way more average damage than usual and make really big credits along with it. But I think for an inexperienced player or somebody who is not comfortable with the auto-loading mechanism in World of Tanks, you would do far better to get the Reveille, which is an absolute incredible, comfortable tank right now, and is probably one of the best bang for bucks tanks that you can pick up in the game. Either way, I personally think the Lorraine 40t is one of the most exciting tier 8 premiums Wargaming have put in for a while. Let's be honest, tanks like the Mutz, the Scorpion, the Liberté, the Defender, and the Patriot, they're all fairly similar to their counterparts. And while you could argue that the Lorraine 40t is kind of like a premium AMX 5100 with different mechanisms, the fact that this is going to be the first tier 8 premium autoloader does make it extra exciting, and I'm happy to see it go back into the game. But I'd like to finish stating one important thing, Wargaming. You've brought back the Lorraine 40t. You're going to make loads of money. The skin was already pretty much in the game, although it does look pretty nice in HD, I'll admit that. But there's one important thing that you have forgot about. That is the Aufklärungspanzerpanther. Wargaming, where is it? This would be the easiest way for you to welcome the new extended light tanks into the game. Bring it back as a tier 7 or a tier 8 German premium light tank. Come on, Wargaming, please. Surely it's time for the awful Panther to make a return. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed this video, or maybe it was just useful to you. If it was, please give it a like. I'd really appreciate it. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention that this vehicle is going to be coming out on Thursday on the North American server and should be coming soon, although I can't give you an exact date for the European server. And don't forget to let me know in the comments all of your opinions of the Lorraine 40t. Do you think it looks like a great premium tank? Do you think that it looks like a good premium tank, a bad one? Do you think it looks crazy overpowered? And what do you think about there being the first ever tier 8 premium autoloader? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.